Well, I'm down here on the campus of the University of Georgia in Tifton, and when you think about the word soybean, how many of you think about a state that begins with the letter I? Illinois, Iowa, maybe not Georgia, but let me tell you something. There's an individual that knows a thing or two about soybeans and how they got started here in Georgia, and that's Dr. Bob Kimmerwright. Hey, Doc.
I appreciate you coming down here. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Goodness.
Always a pleasure.
Heard so many great things about this guy, and to get a chance to do a segment together with him is such a special thing. So, Doc, we're standing out in the field now that I promised the folks at home there were soybeans out here not too long ago.
That's correct.
But we're looking at this, and there's not a whole lot of stubble. There's not a whole lot of debris. You just harvested soybeans. Where did they go? Where did all that stuff go?
One of the most important things in my world of diseases and nematodes is we want to get that material broken down. We want to get it to rot. We want to get it turned under. So our team here at the University of Georgia Tifton campus has come out here and they've done a lot of land work, cut it down. They've planted a cover crop behind you. They've turned this under. And so our whole goal is to get that debris to break down so that when we move into the new season, we've gotten rid of a nutritional source for some of the bad guys, some of the nematodes, some of the pathogens.
I want to talk about the bad guys because you're a professor of plant pathology. And so this idea of the bad guys under the soil, these sandy soils here in the coastal plain, what are some of the things that are bothering those soybeans that are issues for that plant?
You know, if you talk in the I states, you hear a lot about something called the cyst nematode. Nematodes are little worms that feed on the roots. But here, because of our soils, because they're sandy, because of where we are, we're really focused on something called a root knot nematode. Damages those roots, causes galls and bumps on them, starves the plant of nutrients. By getting in there and cleaning these fields up, and by rotating, we can help to try to reduce that problem in our soybean crop and our other crops as well.
And you know, one of the things I learned about from Dr. Bob here is that soybeans, when you think about Georgia, we may not have the acreage that some of the I states do, about 150-some thousand acres, but the impact that the University of Georgia is having on those soybeans is great. So what I want to do now is go into the lab and I want to explore some of the other ways that Dr. Bob is looking at disease. So let's go there now. Now we're in a lab, and Dr. Bob, what would we be looking at here with this kind of a microscope that's intimidating me a little bit here? What are we doing?
Well, basically what we are is back to 2004 in a way, because everything you're seeing right now was an investment by the United Soybean Board and the Georgia Commodity Commission for soybeans, an investment for national vigilance against soybean rust, which 100 years after it's first discovered gets to Georgia and gets to the United States. What we're looking at here, we're looking at a corn leaf here, but corn and the soybeans are similar in a situation. A lot of the same producers produce them, but in Georgia, new and from my perspective, exciting diseases that may not be found elsewhere or rarely found elsewhere come to us and some of our neighbors first. So what we're looking at under here is not soybean rust, but in this very similar spirit, we're looking at tar spot and also southern corn rust.
Okay.
And what makes these similar is that they are, at least the tar spot is new to us, but the most important thing in looking at it through the microscope is the early detection, because we want our producers to be profitable. And if they're profitable, they have to know when it's time to spray. And to know when it's time to spray, you have to know where the bad guys are. And that's what we're doing here, looking for bad guys, trying to find the bad guys when they first arrive in the state.
I want to take you back to 1765. Believe it or not, that's where soybeans came into the United States and here in Georgia all those years ago. And here we are, Doc, in a barn that's full of equipment that's worth a lot more than I am here. And I want to ask you about the future of soybeans here in Georgia and the great work that's being done in the College of Ag. What would a message be to our friends at home about what is the future like for soybean research as we try to knock down that disease like you mentioned today?
You know, Nick, when I talk to my family about this, family who's not involved in farming, and we look at a crop like soybeans, and you look at the changing climate, you look at geopolitical problems, you look at how soybeans are important around the world, and the impact the University of Georgia and Georgia growers have is disproportionate to the amount of soybeans we grow here. And it's absolutely critical that we continue this investment, because soybeans as a crop, as an animal feed, as a nutritional source, is a way for the future. And without investment, without the equipment you see behind us, without the lab work, there is no future. And so the future is bright, but we can't stop looking. We can't stop being curious and trying to figure out what can be done better in a different way to make better yields, better, more drought-resistant varieties, and everything along that way.
Absolutely. And I got to give a shout out to you. Thank you so much, Doc, for today. It's been such a pleasure. thank you, and a shout out to our extension agents out there that are scouting those fields and looking for those diseases and working with those producers and farmers. Wouldn't be able to do it without them. So if you're online and you want to look up about what's going on with other extension agents in your neck of the woods, or maybe even hop on over to the Ranger Nick Facebook page or the Farm Monitor Facebook page while you're online, do that. We'd love to hear from you in this new year. And until next time, for the Farm Monitor, as I always say, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you that enthusiasm is contagious. So pass it on. Y'all, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right back here again this time next month. See ya.